Welcome back, fourth graders. Hope you had a great weekend. We wrapped up our story, The Lemonade War, last week, finishing off chapter 14, and also finishing this story plot diagram, talking about all the different parts of a story plot diagram and how it goes from the beginning of the story to the middle of the story to the end of our story, in this case with the Lemonade War. Just to refresh your memory, the beginning of a story is called the exposition. That's just a big fancy word of saying we're going to tell about the characters and about the setting of the story. And then something happens, that conflict or the incident or the event that sets the story in motion. It's kind of like that roller coaster. The roller coaster goes nowhere. If we just talk about characters and setting the whole time, the roller coaster goes nowhere. It just sits right here. But once something happens, a wow, a bang, a boom, something, some conflict, in this case, that letter that took off, now the story rises in action. Evan sells lemonade. Jesse partners with Megan. They all sell lemonade. They're making that bet. And it rises to the top again, which we call the climax. So we have exposition, the incident or conflict, then the rising action to the climax, which is the top of the roller coaster, the main event, the big bang, the part of the story that's the most action or exciting part of the story. And then it falls back down, falling action, until we get to the end where our resolution is. So I added just a couple of things here in the falling action. Remember that Jesse spent that day with Megan at the beach. And then we had that whole section about Scott Spencer, just a short little chapter. And I put there money, question mark, and then Scott's name because we don't know exactly for sure. We have to infer what we think happened. And then as the story wrapped up, remember that Evan confesses to Jesse and tells her about the money. She gets extremely upset, which we don't blame her. She loses that money because of Evan taking that money. And then I put on here family time because remember there was the fireworks display and then that rainstorm in chapter 14, and they had time just together with their mom and kind of just wrap things up, kind of apologized, came together, realized it was a tie and this was silly for us to waste all that time at the end of our summer with this lemonade war. And Jessie starts to feel kind of bad for Evan. She's like, I don't want him to think that the whole summer was crud just because of our lemonade war. So the two of them kind of come to an understanding. They get to this resolution where the story comes to an end. And some of you might have liked the resolution or how the story ended. Others of you might have said, no, I want something more. That just didn't feel like a good resolution. They spend some time together, watch some fireworks, get ready for the first day of school, and call their war a tie. I don't know. That just doesn't feel like a resolution that I like. And so you might be happy to find out, we talked about this on Friday, that there is actually a sequel. The author of the story never planned for a sequel, but she got so many letters, so much information in the mail, kids asking what happened, why did this happen, and wanted to have some sort of a sequel, like Scott Spencer needs to have something happen to him. We need to find out about that missing money. So in your Lemonade War packet, there is a page where you can do just exactly that. You can write about how you feel about the end of the story. Notice this is also an opinion writing because it's your feelings, it's your ideas, it's your questions and thoughts. It says, now that you have finished the book, do you still have questions? List some of the questions that have been left unanswered by the author. In fact, you could write like those other kids did, a letter to the author demanding to know what happened. What are the questions you have? Now, we know that Scott Spencer is the suspect. I mean, we all are thinking he probably took the money, but for those of you that were with us on Friday, I mentioned how you're innocent until proven guilty. And there is no proof. Scott is just purely the one that was there and who had all kinds of clues that made us feel like he was the one that did it, but we don't know for sure. There's also on our study guide here, this back page, it's a reflection. There's a couple of things that we can do to wrap up our story here as well. It says, do you like how the author chose to end the book? Why or why not? Some of you might have liked it. Some of you might have said, you know what? It wasn't my perfect ending, but the brother and sister got along and they apologized and everything seemed to work out and they're ready for their first day of school and the war was basically a tie. But maybe you did. And so there's a chance for you to write as well about why you didn't like the way the story came to an end. And then which character could you relate to the best in this story? Why? Now, I know a lot of times kids go, well, I'm going to relate to Jesse because I'm a girl. I'm going to relate to Evan because I'm a boy. Try to think beyond that if you could, and just think about them as a character, not necessarily a boy or a girl, older or younger. Just think about which character could I relate to best in the story? And in other words, which one do I understand better? And then maybe say why. So there's a couple different things you can do here to wrap up our story. Some reflections and some opinion writing. And then I also put on the Canvas page, I put a plot, a diagram, little clip from a Brain Pop, actually. And they go into more detail about a plot diagram and the different parts. And they give it some fancy words that are more exact to what it really is. And then I also added onto the Canvas page a person who is reading out loud the first chapter of the next story. So after the Lemonade War is the Lemonade Crime. So today, for those classes that want to read on into the sequel called The Lemonade Crime, like I said, I did load this into Canvas. It's a different reader. This teacher reads The Lemonade Crime out loud, but maybe it kind of hooks you into wanting to find the book yourself and reading for yourself as you move now into the end of the school year. There are actually, I guess, 5 books in the series. I have not read them, so I am not one to talk about it. But I do know with The Lemonade Crime that it's a sequel and it follows up with Scott Spencer and more of a trial, talking about legal terms. So, hope you had a great time with our story, The Lemonade War. And hope you had a good time now as we move into The Lemonade Crime for those that are going to do that. And we will see you again tomorrow.